This Monday.com ad was created by a team of people and AI agents. Reese, our content agent, wrote the copy based on our best practices, like mentioning Monday.com 3 times. That was the second. Johnny, our coordination agent, built the timeline and kept everyone aligned. Olivia, our human creative director, stayed in the loop. Because agents are great, but they don't always know when a joke lands. She had one note: tell listeners it only takes minutes to build an agent. So, minutes. Create your own AI agent today on Monday.com.
Hi there, and thank you for joining us on the Overcomers Overcoming podcast. We feature those who are in the process of overcoming or have overcome any type of life encounter, life obstacle that at the time seemed to be almost insurmountable. With this podcast, we have 3 objectives in mind. Our first objective is we want you to know with a confident resolve you are not alone. We want to work with you. We want you to know there are others who are working with you, who want to help you through whatever you are encountering, and together we will get through whatever you're experiencing.
Our second objective is there are multiple options for any life encounter you are facing. We want to help you develop a resolve that there are various options and solutions to any life dilemma.
Our third objective is to help you with critical thinking skills. If you're encountering something that was possibly a decision you made sometime in the past, and if you had the opportunity for a life redo, you would make a different decision. We want to help you with those critical thinking skills that can help you make an informed decision and not encounter what you're going through at the moment. We are the Cooper Culture, a veteran-owned business. We work with business personnel and families to develop and sustain connected relationship cultures within their families and organizations. That type organization is one where people feel wanted, appreciated, and genuinely a part of that organization. I'm with my wife and business partner, Marty, who has helped me facilitate this podcast. Today we feature Chris Hallberg, who refers to himself as the business sergeant. He speaks to us about veterans and what we, Marty and I, are veterans. I am active duty and Marty was my consummate supporter. The value that veterans bring into organizations. In some cases, veterans are misunderstood. We have a lot to offer, but there are many who do not understand how veterans can benefit organizations. We emphasize teamwork, leadership, and the total family aspect. And speaking of family, Marty, thank you for supporting me for the times we were separated while in the military, on military assignment and TDY. But what are some takeaways we can gain from Chris's testimony?
I like his enthusiasm to help veterans, and I think that's very important because, as you discussed today with Chris, veterans know how to lead. They know how to go in to a job and are willing to step outside of that job to help in other areas because they've been trained for that. And I also appreciate the fact that Chris brought up families and what an education this is for the children of military people, because they get a broader outlook on what military life is all about, and they are kids that know how to make friends and keep friends, and just it's a great education for each child that's a military brat, as we call them.
Particularly if you are in HR, I want to encourage you to reach out to us veterans. We can tell you exactly what we have to offer to you to help develop your team. Let's work together, let's listen together, and let's advance each other. Hey, Chris, great to have you with us. Our listeners, particularly the military, not exclusively, but those who have served in the military are going to be very interested in how you have transitioned from, I hesitate to use the word retire, we transitioned to, and continue doing what we have done in the military by leveraging our past and so forth. But our listeners are going to be very interested in your perspective of the military, entrepreneurship, and what we've been through to create and be a part of great teams. And I personally believe, just so our listeners are aware of my bias, if you will, there are three professions who have teamwork down to a fine art. That's law enforcement, firefighters, and military. And I believe that literally in some cases our lives depend on teamwork and trusting each other, communicating well, and so forth. But Chris, great to have you with us. And our listeners are going to be very interested in learning what you do, how you do, and where you've been and helping entrepreneurs overcome. Welcome aboard.
Thanks, Marty. And thanks, Ron, for having me on your show. Great to be here.
Well, Chris, start us out wherever you want. Maybe any of your military background that became the launching point to where you are, and we'll just see where things go.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. So I come from a military family. All my grandparents, dad, mom's side, like many, many, many generations of military service. I remember being a kid rummaging through my dad's Vietnam era decorations and just, wanting to play Army, not cowboys, Boy Scouts was great for the structure and, having a sash full of merit badges and, feeling some accomplishment. But you get to a certain age, you're like, that's not cutting it. Enter the Army National Guard Military Police. So I joined at 17, right as soon as I could, and really wanted to be in both civilian law enforcement and military law enforcement. I wanted to do both. So as a National Guard citizen soldier, you can be an MP part-time and a full-time corrections officer and deputy sheriff. So that was my lived experience in two of those three things. I never did firefighter work, but I did two of the three areas that you listed, Ron. And it was a great experience, 1990 to 1999. Got out of all those uniforms in 99. Got into sales position, sales management very quickly, sales executive, and then a business owner in a pretty short period of time. And really kept that fired up, follow me military leadership style. Lots of humor, very direct, fired up, motivated, and some people really respond to that. A lot of folks, like veterans, are only 7% of the U.S. population. The other 93%, not for them, had a story why they didn't do it, wish they did it, somewhere in there. So really played in that space and personally branded myself as the business sergeant after a lot of feedback from clients. And personal branding is a beautiful thing. People don't hire the business sergeant to tiptoe around their tulip field. They hire me to come in and call the balls and strikes, be direct, be confident, and get everybody on the same page. Anyone who doesn't want to be on the team, well, my job is to, make it obvious that they might be happier somewhere else. And then we replace them with someone who's perfect for the team. And that's how we fix companies. Companies are generally just a curation of human beings. And some are curated quite well and get along because they're aligned and they get along well. And others got a bunch of selfish people wanting to do what they want to do versus what's good for the mission at hand. So that military team building mindset is at the center of all the work I do. And even though most of the businesses I coach aren't in a life and death scenario, it's okay to take things just a little bit more seriously and be surrounded by folks who feel the same way about being great. Because the truth is, it takes just as much time to be great as it does to be pathetic. Like the amount of time for your friends and family and going through the motions for a wonderful result and a very sad result really doesn't take any more time. So it's just a decision and then a little resolution, a little commitment to get there. And then we have a proven process, takes a couple of years with an 85% success rate. So it's not for everybody, but for people that want to have some fun and get fired up and kick some butt, take some names, and take care of your folks and have a tremendous success financially and culturally. That's kind of the work we do.
Great. I will say somewhat of an aside, but thank you to your dad. I, too, am a Vietnam era guy. I flew F-4s from August 71 to May 73 in Vietnam, 300 combat missions. But I go through that just to say, Chris, that at the Vietnam was a very difficult time for our nation. Those of us who served in uniform were frequently told, do not wear your uniform back when you're re-entering country, because the quote 10 who are there in the airport will want to and likely will literally spit on you. And that was just a part of what the country was like at the time. And nothing about what I'm trying to say is about us, Chris, but there may be some military people who find it difficult to transition from military life to civilian life, because some civilians say, man, you got to pinpoint. I mean, you got to be laser accurate, only one very small focused area that you want to pursue. And a lot of us would say, well, man, I've been all over the map, all over the world doing stuff. You put me wherever you want, and I'll do it better than anybody else in the world. Well, for some people, that's not good enough. But Chris, how do you work with a military person who's transitioning to and finds it very difficult to find only that very, very small niche that's what I'm applying for?
Yeah, I think it's a perception thing, right? I mean, being an F-4 fighter jock in Vietnam with 300 combat missions is not a small thing. I would argue you could drop you into a lot of situations and figure it out, because first off, just to be a pilot in the Air Force is like top 10%. Everyone thinks everyone in the Air Force is a pilot, but it's actually pretty small. Then you get fighter pilot, then you get combat fighter pilot, right? Now you're in the top one percentile of the entire Air Force during that time, or now you'd be an F-22 pilot, right? If you were several years younger and still in the Air Force. So like, there's been 1,000 people that said, I want to do this. And then 800 of them couldn't do that. And of the 200 of them, maybe 40 or 50 actually were able to do that. So, you know, when you've been selected against a group of peers that is already exceptional, and you've made that cut again and again and again and again and again, there's not too many things you can't do, just a capable human. So what I would say is like, hey, if at my recruiting company, Business Sergeant, let's say you were wanting to re-enter the workforce, all right, and you were going to give those leadership gifts to a company, I would be talking to a CEO who says, I just want a superhuman that can figure out all these problems and make it look easy. I'd be like, well, that's easy. You didn't have 4 fighter pilot from Vietnam if they're still willing to work. Like, that's who you need right there. So to answer your question, perhaps indirectly, is veterans are superhumans. You can figure it out. It's FITFO. Figure it the F out. And you can insert whatever word you want there. But FITFO is something that military veterans can do. They always find a way. Don't need the right equipment. Don't need the right budget. Possible deadlines. Sounds good. They just find a way to deliver the goods. Veterans don't levy excuses. Their level of commitment is otherworldly. They stick around. They're not job hoppers. They're okay having tough conversations. They take criticism well. Like all the little people issues that I solve. For instance, one of the types of veterans we place in companies most often are Special Forces Green Berets. My business partner and president, Michael Crisilla of Business Sergeant, has only been out of the Special Forces. He spent 22, 23 years in SF. And climbed all the way to a Chief Warrant Officer 3. So like 20 some years in the Special Forces. This guy can figure anything out. He knows a whole bunch of people who also fit that description. So if you're hiring leaders and you have someone that has had $4 or $5 million spent from your U.S. tax dollars in project management, relationship building, mission execution, intelligence gathering, rapport building. I mean, these guys take farmers and depose governments. They can figure it out. So imagine a Green Beret level tactical problem solver with 20 years of real world tactical experience. And we've got a problem in the warehouse. Yeah, okay, sit down. I got this. Like a problem, right, in that world is someone's not coming home, or we're trapped behind lines, or like serious problems. So I just find, Ron, directly, that military folks don't have a lot of problems with what some folks would consider major business issues. in the grand scheme of things, relativity, it's a minor issue that can certainly be solved sooner than later, versus sometimes the molehill that's made into a mountain by folks that just don't have the perspective of what real crisis and a real problem looks like.
What I'm processing you're saying, Chris, and tell me if you're thinking differently. We in the military, through our training, are critical thinkers. There is no problem we cannot solve, and I don't mean that as a point of arrogance, but it's a statement of confidence. We will analyze every fact and factor involved in whatever situation we are in, and we will we will offer a proposed resolution. That is an aspect of critical thinking. Is that a part of what you just described earlier about the military mindset?
Yeah, I mean, the military, is full of great leaders and not so great leaders. No different than this civilian business world. But the difference is the military, you've got a certain amount of brass on your collar. We're going with what you say, regardless if it's the right thing or not. So that's a lot of responsibility to give a, 22-year-old second lieutenant, right, that technically outranks the sergeant major. But we'll see how that fight ends. There's a lot of experience. And I think if you're just resting on the rank on your collar and not the respect of your troops, then that's the same reason we have TV shows about The Office. And those shows are hilarious unless you're part of the sitcom. You're like in that cast at your company, and the crazy things that happen are not fun when you're a recipient of it. It's great to watch on TV, but having a company that operates like a military unit, not just any unit, but an elite unit, a unit where your respect of the quality of your work and leadership determines how people listen to you. Your rank is kind of secondary. In those elite units, the rank kind of disappears and it goes into capacity or capability, right? And in the civilian business world, it's hierarchical, just like the military is, right? We've got employees, we've got managers, we've got directors, vice presidents, C-level folks. And sometimes if you're just counting on your title or what's on your collar, and because I said so, because I'm the boss, that's generally pretty low quality leadership. But when you get into an elite unit and everyone's fighting to take accountability for the one or two things that didn't go perfectly, that's why those units are elite, because their ego doesn't get in the way of the mission. They solely exist to accomplish the mission as a team. Whoever the quote was, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go as a team. Well, who are the best teammates on the planet? You already said it. It's military veterans, and they're available. And they don't really cost much more to get than the regular types. And they show up with all that tax dollars spent wisely on their development. So stop training leaders and just start hiring the best leaders on the planet is kind of one of our taglines. And it really resonates with CEOs that appreciate all those intangibles that veterans bring to the marketplace.
Nope, I'm right there with you, of course. And I think one of the trademarks of military mindset is, okay, the meeting starts at whatever the time is on the calendar. If you're not there at least 15 minutes before, then you are late. And I know that to be the case with military types. You, I, and a very few are at the appointed location anytime early. That's just one of the trademarks that we have. But then also talk to us about the military mindset and conflict resolution. That and I strongly agree with you. No, we will resolve conflict, and we won't allow it to get to the point of hating each other. But how would you describe that mindset to maybe someone who, hey, tell me more about this conflict resolution kind of thing that you military folks are good at?
Yeah, I think you kind of leaned into it for a second there. And military folks, there's a meme I saw on Facebook, and it had me laughing because it's so true. And it said civilians talk nice in front of your face and talk bad behind your back. Military vets talk bad to each other in their face and then talk glowingly behind your back. So I think if you just think about that for a second, that kind of describes the military is very verbally combative. Like, you better have your facts straight. You can't omit things. Like, you're around other really smart people who are tactically minded and mission focused. So if you're not prepared, that's going to stick out like a sore thumb. In the civilian world, you can BS your way through most meetings. When we have life and death or millions of dollars of equipment, people's lives, civilian casualties, there's no room for error. There's no failing in this. So the margins for failure are more serious. So when you take that same mission planning, project management, execution, managing other humans, holding them accountable, selecting the right humans to come on board, how we train them, how we mentor them, those are things that are inherent in every military unit, and they're not in the civilian business world. This is my lane. This is yours. Not my circus, not my monkeys. I'm going to be right over here, stamping widgets while you do other things that aren't good for the company. But that's not really my accountability. Whereas in the military, you just see any Joe Private with his hands in his pocket, his hat cocked back, smoking a cigarette. Like, you got to say something, right? The good order of the discipline. That's not my private. I'll find out who your sergeant is, and we'll have a little sergeant to sergeant talk. And thank you for correcting my private is what I want to hear from that other sergeant. Not mind your own business, right? That would be an affront. Whereas in the civilian business world, hey, slow down. You're working too fast. You're making us look bad. Now you can't get fired for that. You'll get a talking to for that. Like, there's like the rules, and then there's like how it really operates. And I think the military folks are much more goal-minded, mission-focused, and they're willing to go through that uncomfortable middle to get to the peak. Whereas perhaps the commitment isn't there for most civilians. Not all of them. There's definitely some fired up folks that never served. But I think if you said, I have an impossible mission, we got to do this thing, we got 30 days to do it. We've got 10 non-veterans and 10 veterans, all with equal business experience. I know who I'm sending on that hard to do thing. Like, I already know, and I think everybody else does, because those people have already proven themselves again and again and again and again and again over a number of years. And that doesn't go away. That mindset of all of those years of professional execution, these people are now allergic to the other kind. So when they see it, they kind of twitch or their neck swells up. And it's a great way to make sure your business is following process, is highly accountable. And the other thing about great military leaders is they take care of their people, like really take care of their people. The Army, anyways, has a rule of 7. I don't know how they do it in the Air Force, but in the Army, you won't ever have more than 7 direct reports, because it's really hard to get to know more than 7 people, their likes, their dislikes, how they're wired, what motivates them, their family, where they're from, how they approach things. In the civilian business world, here's your 22 direct reports. Like, that's that's missing the human side of things, which is all there really is when we're talking about people.
And a lot of thoughts come to mind as you're talking, Chris, that many people are recently aware of, if they have not been aware of an InShine before, a military mantra: no person left behind. And that is a mantra we live by. Very recently, in the Iranian situation, we had the F-15 crew member who was shot down on Good Friday, picked up on Easter Sunday, and went through his own survival to be picked up. But I would say that the mindset of a lot of us military types is, nope, the only thing in doubt is the exact time and what day I'll be picked up, I'll be rescued and so forth, but I will be. That's a part of the confidence we have in the team that works together in the trustworthy part, developing those under our influence. When I say under, within our influence might be a better word, because I don't want to speak in hierarchical terms. That yes, we have responsibilities, but part of that responsibility is developing other people. We take that very seriously, and caring for, and that type of leadership is part of what's ingrained, my experience, in the military mindset. But that's all a part of the teamwork. And It was John Maxwell who I first heard it from. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with a team. And the team, as we are very comfortable with ourselves, leading ourselves first, knowing and being comfortable with our shortcomings, weaknesses, whatever term you want to put to it. And we have people who complement our weaknesses. And as we are able to express that, we're going to have a very functional, tight laced, very tight functioning team. That's my perspective of it, Chris. You may have a little different perspective, but that's from my perspective, that's the military mindset. I want to take a very brief moment to tell you about myself, the Cooper Culture, a certified veteran-owned small business. I am a retired lieutenant colonel serving the Air Force for 22 years as an F-4 pilot, commander. I have 300 combat missions. I specialize in executive leadership training, team building, and workplace culture, where we help businesses to develop a culture of loyalty, trust, and by developing personality traits and personal strengths, we can help identify those traits that support the company's objectives. We do this through half-day and all-day training shops. I'm also a public speaker where I welcome the opportunity to speak with your group to help you develop your team to the point where people are loyal and they know exactly how they fit in the organization and contribute to your strategic objectives. Through that, you will have a very profitable company and a psychologically safe space where people know they can freely discuss everything about the company themselves, and we are always working together to progress. Contact me at ron@thecooperculture.com. Our website is thecooperculture.com. Look forward to the opportunity to speak with your group, work with your group, to take your group to the next level to where we soar together. Let's work together.
Yeah, I think I agree with what you said. I mean, a great leader curates a team of role players. Like the teams that win the Stanley Cup in hockey or the Super Bowl in football, it's not necessarily the all-star team. It's the gritty folks who block and do the ugly parts so the star can score. And a great star doesn't say, well, we won because I'm awesome. Pay me $20 million. They say, I had great blocking. I have the best line. I have gritty people who pass me the puck at just the right time, and I couldn't do this or win this trophy without the team. So I think at the end of the day, when a great leader is threatened by someone, a poor leader is threatened by someone that has a superior skill, and an insecure leader will take that resume and just put it to the bottom or put it in the rotary file, aka the trash can. And a strong leader will see someone on their team and say, wow, they're better at this than I am. This is great. Now I can focus on developing another skill that I have another expert on this. And then they stack the deck with an individual expert collectively. And then they think, I've heard this before from humans. Well, if I hire these two experts, what do they need me for? Like, wait a minute. Your job is to get these 6 experts all working together and retain them. That is a monumental effort to maintain and grow and challenge a team and continue to move forward while keeping everybody happy, productive, in their lanes, doing great work. So people think, well, if I assemble the A team, then they don't need me anymore. I'm extra. That is not how it works. Very few leaders can create a team that's a literal 10 out of 10. Most business teams might be a 6.5 out of 10 and still make money. And an 8 looks like a 10 if everyone's a 6. A 10 seems impossible if you've got a bunch of 8s knocking around and there's some 9s and 10s. So it's all relative to itself, I guess, is the answer. But when the team wins, when the company wins, the unit wins, then the leaders get to win. A selfish, bad boss who's there for the compensation, the great parking spot by the door, and the corner office, and an assistant, and an expense account, and a big title, and right, they're just a boss versus a leader. There's a big difference between being someone's boss and being someone's leader. A leader is someone, that actually has influence, whereas a boss has a title or something shiny on their collar. And we've all seen the leaders who come in and think they're hot stuff, and they turn around and everyone has a laugh. You don't want to be one of those leaders. You want to be a leader who comes in the room and everyone hushes, and the chief's got something to say, and it's going to be good. And those great leaders earn the respect of the men and women behind them because they've got their backs. Being a leader also means you need to manage laterally and above you to protect your flock, because not all the good ideas are usable, and someone has to push back respectfully and just say, we're not going to do that, and this is why. And if the senior leader is a good leader, they'll take that counsel. And that's why colonels and generals have sergeant majors nearby, just to make sure that they're not making, just officer type decisions in an ivory tower. The NCOs spend a lot more time with the troops than the officers do. So that's why in the civilian business world, I really focus on the management team. The leadership team is who I work with. That's who pays me. That's who brings me in. I got to fix the head before the body follows. But I'll often ask them early in an engagement, if you're going to launch new information, if you're going to do big things and share at the company, do you bring in the sergeants ahead of time? No. Who are they? Well, imagine the sergeants are getting the information at the same time as the troops are, and the troops go to the sergeant, well, what do you think about this? And they're like, I don't know. I just learned at the same time as you. That's a litmus test right there, that you're not really empowering those middle managers, the sergeants in the business world, the managers, less than, the C level or the V level or the D level, depending on your company's organized. And I find that when we start having monthly leadership and management team meetings where the brass and the sergeants get together in a civilian business world and trade notes, that's a company that works great. That's why people hire me. That's part of my methodology. I coach EOS, or the Entrepreneurial Operating System, because it's such a highly effective program to align and synchronize all the moving parts. But I bring this military team building mindset and the software tool together. And that's how I do the work. Is I have access to the best leaders. I have a tool that kind of keeps it sticky, and then the methodology that's a proven winner in business. So you can stack things. You can take your experience and say, oh, I had a good this before. I had a good this before. Military people are all about systems. The military is one big process from start to finish. I mean, look at Maduro getting snapped up in his jammies after talking smack on social media. Like, I'm pretty sure we got every dictator's attention with that little maneuver. 150 aircraft in the air. Like, we definitely took some casualties, right? But we didn't lose anybody. And what a mission. That's an impossible mission to pull something like that off. And we did it. Why? Because everyone had a role, everyone trained up, everyone was accountable, and no one wanted to let the team down. And that's how you pull off impossible missions in the military or in the civilian business world. Same stuff, different environment. Less bullets in the civilian world, right? Less fire, less explosions. So that just kind of puts it on easy mode for folks that have seen, for instance, what you've seen. There's not too many stressful days in business compared to dodging surface air missiles, and not just a few of them, right? That was not that was not an easy ride that you took on 300 theirs and 300 backs. Is 600 legs, we'll call it, pre-mission, post-mission. You're either the luckiest guy in the world, or you're a damn good pilot and shook a few of those off yourself.
Well, let's just say the training and all of that brought about confidence. But let me round this out by talking about mission. Many of us in the military are mission-centric oriented. And I want to bring in Marty of this in the family context, that we deploy to remote zones periodically, or we're TDY, temporary duty, and we're separated from family, it's incumbent on us, I believe, in the military to make certain we've got the family together, that they can function, we can function, even if we're geographically separated. And a huge credit to Marty for keeping our family together when we were separated for the 18 months in Vietnam, but then TDYs and so forth at various locations. And so there was a lot of times that we were separated away from, but we kept the family together. Yes, we had to overcome. I don't want any of our listeners to think that we in the military don't encounter challenges within the family and so forth. But I do think, Chris, in the context of we will take on whatever is occurring, and we will analyze, assess, and we will fix. And I know many people don't want to be fixed per se, but we're problem solvers. That we know that in the context of mission, when the family is working well, we can accomplish the mission much better. But Chris, I don't want to philosophize on my part of this, but talk to our listeners about the military family and keeping the total unit together. And then I'm really asking now in the context of team, but as relates to the family.
Yeah, so like the FRG or the family readiness group, that's a big deal when there's deployments and, military spouses. There's a reason why they qualify for benefits and have all these programs is because they've earned it. It's kind of a team sport. If you're going to be married and be in the military, there's going to be a tremendous amount of versatility that's needed in the military spouse. There's a network. There's a bunch of folks going through the same thing. So we have some fellowship there. But at the end of the day, when, most likely dad goes away for a year, right? Mom's got to do all the mom stuff, a good number of the dad stuff, and, the household and the rearing and the discipline and all that. Military moms don't mess around. Wooden spoon survivor would be like a t-shirt, like let's just understand. Military mom says that's your last warning. You can probably bet that's your last warning, right? Or civilian warning for the 18th time. Don't do that. I said, don't do that. I said, you see the unaccountable kid at the grocery store who's being reprimanded 42 times in a row for the same thing. Like, being an MP and being in the PX from time to time, you could see some of those woodline attitude adjustments happening in the cosmetic aisle, and in the military, it's you kind of expect that because, when you're in a job where discipline and accountability and honor duty country and all that are there, a lot of that rubs off on the military family as well, and it's also really hard as a military kid to go to a new duty station every year or two and make friends. So those military brats, right? They can make friends anywhere. They can figure out social groups, unlike anyone else, because they're forced to. Where other kids get the same kids for most cases, from kindergarten up to senior in high school, and then they go out and meet new people from there. So I think there's a lot in that answer, I guess, but military spouses and family members, they're serving too, because they don't have access to mom or dad like civilian kids do. And they're sacrificing too. So that's my little commercial for the military family. And that's why the U.S. military is the best it's ever been, because the U.S. military gets housing, benefits, medical care. You know what I mean? That sweet prices at the PX. I mean, there's some benefits to being in the military. Obviously, people don't join the military to get rich. They do it to, serve a higher power and be part of something bigger. And quite frankly, I think it's the best thing you could do with your life between 17 and say 23 years old. I think service should be compulsory in the United States at some level, and it might not be the military. Maybe you serve in the Peace Corps if that's your deal, but serving something bigger than yourself, I think, needs to come back, because we've become a very selfish, push button entitled nation, and there's still enough of us that are holding the line, but it's a dwindling number. And the kids coming out of school today are about as half accountable and motivated as they were, I would even argue, 10 years ago. So the simple fact that I'm in the veteran talent business, I think we're going to be safe for a number of years, because great leadership isn't going out of style. Even if AI is going to get good, AI is horrible at, BS detector, relationship building, rapport building, discernment. It's going to be a few years before the robots take over. Until then, hire yourself a veteran and enjoy the competitive advantage that they bring with all these other intrinsics and intangibles.
Right on. Let's bring this in for a landing. For those who are maybe began this podcast not knowing exactly, but they say, man, Chris, after listening to you, you speak with a very high resolve about military. For those who want to know more about the military, maybe some of the military transitioning from uniform to civilian life, how can they contact and work with the business sergeant?
Yeah, they can just send me an email at chris@bizsgt.com. We also have a free online business course and a community for any U.S. veteran listening to this. They can go to bizsgt.com and they can take the course, the community. And if they'd like to be placed at a veteran-friendly company, we can do that too, but that's not required. We're happy just to give to veterans freely and thank them for their service. And ultimately, if they want, we can connect them to a veteran-friendly company that appreciates all the things that they bring. But anyone who wants to get some business smarts and translate their service into the civilian world, that's where we'll do that there. Or I also say people can just find me on LinkedIn and connect with me. I'll be sharing this interview on my LinkedIn page. So hit me up on LinkedIn. Would love to follow you as well.
Fabulous. Chris, on behalf of our listeners and many people in our country, I personally want to thank you for serving our country in uniform. Thank you for leveraging your military experience, your training to bring on others and help them to transition from, but also integrate those of us who served in the military, because yes, there are still a lot of people who don't quite understand that military mindset. And I think you and I would both heartily say, hire the military, bring us on, and we will take your company to the next level. Just let us know where it is you want to go, and I will use my expertise to help you get there. And but Chris, thank you very much for your expertise.
Yes,
Thank you for
Chris,
having me on.
I've enjoyed this. It's really been great. And I do say to the military children, it's an education. And they do, as our daughter has just really been blessed by having a father in the military and all the experiences that she has been able to have. So it's a blessing.
It is indeed. Thank you so much for having me on your program, you too. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
We appreciate having the opportunity to share our and our guests' life experiences with you.
The Cooper culture advances organizations to achieve and sustain high retention rates, connected communication, and trust through personality insights and principled leadership. You can contact us at our website, thecooperculture.com, and you can contact us directly at ron@thecooperculture.com or Marty, MARTY, at thecooperculture.com. We work with you to help assess aspects of your culture to advance the environment and people to their best performance. We do that through our staff of certified personal performance coaches, leadership trainers, keynote speakers, and DISC personality behavior experts. You can book a speaking engagement directly through our website by contacting us at ron@thecooperculture.com. We look forward to sharing our life experiences with you, some of which are profound, some of which are pretty funny. Some of those life experiences are ones we'll never do that again because we've been through stuff. We truly look forward to working with you, speaking with you, helping advance you in any way that we can.